Welcome to Dollars and Dirhams. Today we have with us Mark Bensman, the Chief Distribution Officer for Manulife Global High Net Worth. Mark focuses on strengthening distributor and client experiences, bringing together capabilities across Manulife's high net worth businesses in Bermuda, Hong Kong, and Singapore. With 25 plus years in life insurance, he's known for practical distribution first thinking, making it easier for advisors and clients to do business. Mark, welcome to Dollars and Dirhams.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Tell us, Mark, how was 2025? What was the biggest highlight that excited you in 2025?
Well, there's lots of great things that happened in 2025. The first thing that happened was my favorite American football team won the Super Bowl
That's
in
true.
January.
Yes.
Excuse me, it's early February of 2025.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
That's right. So it started out strong. Business-wise, we saw a tremendous year of growth. And that's exciting because we saw growth from markets not only in Asia, but obviously, this region in the Middle East, the GCC, has been a huge growth driver for our business. And that's because what's happening here in the region, the explosion of wealth and the influx of high net worth individuals into this part of the world. And what our products do is they solve lots of problems.
Mhm.
And, through our distribution partners like yourself, we're able to bring these solutions to these high net worth clients. And so exciting year of change, exciting year of growth, and obviously a Super Bowl win always starts the year strong.
Absolutely. But if you had to pick one moment or one highlight, one case on your professional side, would you have one that you could talk about?
Yeah, I can't get into too many details, but what I will say is the ability for us at Manulife to obtain even larger lines of life insurance capacity in order to deliver the right amount of coverage to these high net worth and ultra high net worth clients. That's very exciting because if you just go back 5-10 years ago,
Right.
trying to piece together a large line such as 225 million of coverage
Mhm.
would have been very difficult for not only an insurer like Manulife, but also the client. They'd have to piece it together with reinsurers, different insurers. Now, just in 2025, we were able to place 225 million on one single life.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Obviously, large deals are very exciting, but the fact that we were able to do that and the ease of implementation, it
Mhm.
wasn't a long process. We were able to come back with an offer, with the capacity for this ultra high net worth client and their advisors within only a few weeks.
Yes.
So again, the speed and the turnaround and getting the coverage in place for that client in that type of fashion was that's exciting. I'm an insurance geek, and that type of stuff
Yeah.
excites me.
Of course. So, do you think since you've done this in 2025, in 2026, will it get easier? Are there initiatives that are being taken across the board that can make these things easier for clients to get higher capacities?
Absolutely, and it's always important, which carrier that you're, looking to buy from. We obviously have long standing relationships with all the large global reinsurers, and so when it comes to, and they've been great partners of ours for generations at this point, and
Right.
so they know the type of business historically that we put on the books, and obviously they share in a lot of the risk that we put on the books, and they know that risk is solid. And so they have the confidence in us underwriting these types of cases and putting this type of coverage in place on these ultra high net worth clients. So
Mhm.
the relationships that we've built and the history of our the type of business that we've worked on with these reinsurers, it allows us to engage with them proactively. So when we do need additional coverage for this particular client or that particular client, they're happy to have those conversations. And I just see the demand growing and growing as wealth continues to grow around the world.
Right.
These ultra high net worth clients have they don't have a need for 20 million. They have a need for 200 million,
Correct.
up and up and up. And so what I'd expect in 2026 and beyond is that we'll sit down hopefully before 12 months from now. I'll be able to come back and say, hey, we did a case even larger than we did in 2025.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're all looking forward to that. But do you see more cases of those sizes coming across? Are you
Absolutely.
coming across more of such cases?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not just, it's always fun to talk about like the super jumbo case, but we're seeing cases quite common that are, 50 million,
Hmm.
100 million,
Right.
where, again, if we go back 5, 7 years ago, those cases were not few and far between, but not as common. Now it's just like, oh, this person needs 50 million, this person needs 100 million. Those are becoming more common. And that's really fun to
Right.
see. Yeah.
And but what has changed though? I mean, of course, wealth has exploded. We've been in a bull market for the last 10, 15 years. And of course, wealth has gone up. But what else has changed? Has the awareness, in your opinion, gone up? Have more family offices, family businesses, started looking at insurance in a different light over the last few years, in your experience?
I think clients have become more sophisticated. They're better advised.
Hmm.
They have obviously more resources. So whether they've set up their own family office or they're dealing with external asset managers or private bankers or independent advisors, they're getting the advice and they're seeing, the use of life insurance where family businesses that didn't have the right planning in place all of a sudden run into inheritance issues or tax issues, and they've seen friends, family, have these types of experiences, and that will drive obviously the behavior for them to look at, hey, maybe I should have the proper planning in place. What should I be looking at? Also, there's a lot of countries around the globe that have instituted different tax regimes. So whether it's an inheritance taxes or wealth transfer taxes or death taxes or what have you, and making sure that, because if I'm ultra high net worth, chances are I have properties in, different jurisdictions. Do I need to, have a certain amount of life insurance to cover an inheritance tax, and because I own property in the UK or in the US or what have you, and I'm exposed to, different
Different
tax
risks, yeah.
regimes. And so I think this, the advice and awareness, we obviously, I think there's a market there where, it still remains fairly underpenetrated,
Hmm.
because, people don't wake up in the morning and go, hey, I think I need 100 million of life insurance,
Correct.
right? Um, they do wake up, I think, sometimes and think, hey, I need to go buy a property, or I need to buy, a new exotic car, or gold or diamonds, or Bitcoin or what have you, but they don't necessarily think about life insurance. And so, our challenge is to keep bringing forth, innovative products, innovative solutions, ideas, capacity, the underwriting, and
Hmm.
everything that supports, and work with our partners to help them bring awareness to these wealthy families globally.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, like you mentioned, most people think of money as a means of acquiring things, properties, businesses, whatever you want. But at the same time, I think money, the function of money is to buy you time, to buy you independence, to be able to do whatever you want. And I think insurance is a great fit. But at the same time, when you talk about family businesses, we see, okay, maybe they're looking at the patriarch or a key person. But do you see the need for younger people in those family businesses to also consider insurance at an early age?
I think it's all about generational planning. Like, we
Hmm.
should be thinking in terms of the next 50 years, the next 100 years.
Right.
It shouldn't just be about, okay, my father owns the company, let's get some coverage on him.
Correct.
And then, when he passes away, everything will nicely, be put in place so that the business can continue and we don't have to liquidate
Hmm.
suddenly. No, no, no. We should be thinking in, longer terms and figuring out, okay, yeah, we're going to do it for your father, but we're also going to look at what's the next generation. And maybe, now there are solutions where you can look at even the younger generation below that and
Hmm.
put some things in place so that, there is this multi-generational planning. And I think it's, as an advisor, it's your responsibility to not just look at a single aspect of a client's, portfolio and then doing the planning there. Let's look at the entire family and how it's structured. And, families, especially families in general, can be very
Of
complex and
course.
relationships can be very complex. But like you referenced with money comes with an added layer of complexity.
Right.
And what insurance can do is actually make things quite simple. So when it's time for the inheritance to come, it's not, oh my gosh, like how do we split up the business, or how do we, who actually owns that property? Do we need to sell this property to pay that inheritance tax? Everything can run much smoother
Mhm.
and be more certain when you
Right.
have the right plan in place. And insurance can play a very important role in that plan.
Right. But are you coming across younger ages in your business where you see younger people also looking at or considering insurances?
Absolutely. It's usually part of the overall family
Mm-hmm.
planning. Again, I think it's important for our partners, our distributors, to bring that forward.
Mm-hmm.
If we go back in time a little bit, what we used to see, and I always would be like, whoa, we're missing a huge opportunity here. Is there'd be a conversation with the business owner. The business owner would buy life insurance to protect the family, protect the business, all the things we just talked about. But then the next step should be, hey, you have a head of sales, a head of marketing, a head
Right.
of, you have your CFO, your key people that are involved in the business. Have you ever thought about what happens if you lose one of them suddenly? But those conversations never would happen.
Yeah.
Now they're starting to happen. So that's even another aspect of,
Mm.
making sure that you're looking at the client situation holistically and not just, vertical, but let's look, horizontal and see, what else, like where are the other gaps in the financial plan and what can we do to solve it?
So have you seen this already in more mature markets like North America? And do you see those trends, moving to, places like the DIFC? Is that something that you're noticing?
In the upper end of the market, in the high net worth space, yes,
Hmm.
because again, good advice, getting the right advice, these clients are absolutely, thinking that way. As you start to kind of go down, and if, let's say ultras, ultras have lots of advisors, they have
Correct.
their own family offices sometimes, or team of private bankers serving them, getting, independent, insurance advisors serving them. As you start to go down ultra to high net worth, maybe to, mass affluent, I don't think the awareness is there. I
Hmm.
think, but it presents a tremendous opportunity for advisors in our space to say, hey, you know what, no one's, everyone likes to play up here in the ultra high net worth. It's fun, it's big, big
Right.
ticket, big premiums, all that stuff. But that's a great market. I still think there's tons of opportunity there, but there's also other segments there that are relatively underpenetrated, and there's tremendous opportunities there because, you talk about the younger generation. The younger generation today, they could, they don't have necessarily, some will have the wealthy, grandparents and parents and all that. But those that are still, accumulating their wealth right now, they've started a business, it's doing quite well. They're in their 40s, they're classified as mass affluent, but you project out 10, 15 years from now, they will be high net worth
Absolutely.
and maybe even ultra high net worth. So let's not discount where they are today.
True.
Let's put a plan in place for what makes sense today. And the plan is not just the plan stays that plan. The plan should continue to evolve. We see clients all the time that, I've been with Manulife 19 years. I mean, we've seen families, we've seen individual clients come back around for more coverage as their situation has evolved, as their business has grown, as their wealth has grown, as their, you know, family complexity has grown. They come back around again because that financial plan has to continue to evolve as they evolve.
Right. So when you're saying about evolving, when you're talking about evolving client needs, what are those trigger points that generally end up being the reason why people consider life insurance as one of the things that they need to put in place? In your opinion, I mean, is it someone getting married? Is it the business expanding? What are the different triggers that help people make the move towards the decision?
Yeah, I think, anytime, we're all human, right? Anytime there's a significant life event, whether it's talk about marriage or a death in the family
Hmm.
or, a situation where, hey, a friend of ours, their grandfather died and he owned property in London. And oh my gosh, the inheritance tax bill that they got was, there's all these
Right.
things that typically are can be triggers. But again, I think it's about the advisors and bringing awareness to the fact that, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Because most people are not going to
Right.
think about it, right? They're going to, they wake up in the morning, they get out of bed, they have a cup of coffee, and they go on, they're with their daily routine,
Yeah.
their daily life. And I think it's important for all of us to highlight, these, and it's not scary because you actually have a solution that can solve a lot of these problems, right? But it's uh, it's dependent on people like yourself and other advisors to bring awareness forward and say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And people will make their own decisions. Maybe it's not, maybe they don't care. Maybe, and I'm sure you've run into lots of clients that say, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah.
If my kids get, 10 million instead of 20 million, it's okay.
Correct.
All right. But at least you brought awareness.
Right.
You've done your part. And they can ultimately make that decision.
True. I mean, I've generally noticed that people who are especially wealthy people, they know the numbers.
Yeah.
But what I try to tell them is about predictability. You talk about predictability, bringing predictability into their cash flows, and that's something that I think resonates most of the time. When you're talking about predictability, we've also seen an evolution of products. The products have evolved, are getting better. Where do you see this moving? I mean, is it just about pricing? Is it about more value added services? What else are you seeing in the market that's helping move clients to make these decisions better and quicker?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot going on in the insurance world. First off, you talk about, the products themselves continue to evolve. Innovation. I know typically people don't think insurance innovation, go side
hand
by
in
side,
hand, yeah.
but like any industry, it's important to drive forward with innovation. And one thing that we've done in addition to, innovative products is, take a look at the, in global high net worth, the clients that we see are, mass affluent or high net worth or ultra high net worth. Making sure that we price the products and the mortality that correlates to their lifestyle, i.e., I'm high net worth. I know if something happens to me or a situation flares up with my health, I have access to the best medical care because I have the money to access the best medical care,
Right.
which is very different than the general population. So you actually start to bifurcate, on product pricing because, hey, if people are taking better care of themselves and have access to better medical care, then they should ultimately pay less for the insurance because
Correct.
their mortality theoretically should be better than someone that doesn't have access to the best medical care. So there's things like that where the insurance industry is getting very sharp on pricing. So obviously pricing is one aspect because to your point earlier, the numbers need to make sense. I spend X amount of premium to get X amount of benefit, right?
Correct.
The less premium I can pay to get more death benefit, like that typically, that's where things start to make sense. Where the numbers line up. The other thing that's happening is, what we have really been driving forward with is health and wellness as it correlates to life insurance. And so, we have a shared value with the client. Every client that comes in and buys a policy from us, they want to live a long life. We want them to live a long life,
Absolutely.
right? Because, the longer they live, extends the period from when we actually have to pay the death benefit. And we're happy to pay death benefits. We just want you to live a long and healthy life.
Absolutely.
So as a result, we have launched a program called Shared Values, which gives clients access to, cutting edge medical developments. And let me give you an example of that. One thing that the medical field can be very confusing. I don't pretend to understand it. I find it to be very fragmented. Doesn't matter which country you're in. It's all, the doctor here, doctor there. None of them ever talk to one another. And
Correct.
and even when you have access to the best medical care, you can still run into some challenges. But we're encouraging our high net worth clients to do, and by encouraging, I mean, add benefits to the policy, which gives them access to preventative, cutting edge preventative care, i.e., getting, blood tests, MRI scans that are, quote unquote, on steroids that can identify potential issues before they become real issues. So if you can get ahead of certain types of cancers because you've identified them early, guess what? A lot of them can be treatable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then there's cancers where if you don't get ahead of them, and by the time you find out, stage 4, then your mortality is not very good. So there's lots of stuff going on in the medical field where you can get blood tests that will identify 20, 25 different cancers. You have all these different things that are happening. Anyway, we within our company have partnerships with the cutting edge technology firms that are driving ahead in this field, and we're bringing awareness forward to our clients that buy Manulife policies, because we feel it's really important to for clients to not only live a long life but a healthy life. And these are things that you wouldn't have thought about 5-10 years ago, right? Like they're like typically someone buys a life insurance policy, historically buys a life insurance policy, they pay their premium every year, it sits in a drawer, they never think about it. And we think that's wrong, right? Like we think we should take the journey with you. And as you're taking that journey, we think we should bring things forward to you and say, hey, you know what? Now we're going to offer for our policyholders, we're going to offer this benefit. You can choose to use it or not. It's up to you.
Right.
But we have a lot of experience, from our Asia division, our U.S. division, who's been doing this a long time, and there's tons of stories where if the client did not take this certain blood test that was put forward by Manulife as a free benefit to their policy, they never would have found that cancer until it was stage 3 or stage 4. But they found it at stage 1. Wow. And it was very treatable. And that's exciting. And I love that. Like, oh my gosh, what a great story.
And this does not affect underwriting decisions at all, because this is done post.
It's done post.
Yeah. Post they've acquired the policy.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. I've actually done a couple of the tests myself just to try it out. What's the experience like? And one of them is a quick, easy blood test. One of them is a MRI scan where you have basically a first class experience. It's an hour, and you get the results back. And then you get to interact with the doctor who's going to walk you through. Like, all right, this looks good. That's a little, we might want to, get a follow-up over here. And it's what's really strange about the whole thing is, you see certain parts of your body that normally you don't see, right? Because I don't know if you've ever been to, gotten X-rays or MRI, like a normal MRI for whatever reason. You don't typically get to see all the pictures and the details, but this was a great experience because they show you, what your lungs look like, and and they explain things to you, and you can ask questions, right? Like, what does that mean? I don't understand. And they're on no time rush, because I don't know if you've been to the doctors recently, but I have, and it just feels like it's always like,
it's the transactional.
That's right. Right. It's like an assembly line. There's moving you through. So those types of things. And I think that will continue to evolve. Other things that are happening in the life insurance space, the ability for us as insurance carriers to move applications quickly through the process. Because one of the things that always aggravated me was the experience, the buying experience. And as you know, the buying experience has changed dramatically. We all go on our phones now. If we want to buy something, we just buy it, right? There's no real friction points. We buy it, it's delivered to our house the next day, sometimes same day. In the investment world, you're very familiar with that, right? You can go on your phone and you can be like, I want to buy Manulife stock. I buy it right here. Boom, done. Or whatever, Bitcoin, whatever you want to do. Life insurance typically historically has not been an easy thing for clients to buy, because we have the medical exam, we got to get doctor's records, we got to paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. Everything is being completely transformed with AI.
Right.
And over the next 24 months, you're going to see the buying experience completely change. And that's a great thing, right? Because if we make it easier for clients to get the coverage that they need in place with less friction, that's a great experience for them, and a faster experience, because now instead of that policy taking X amount of days to get put in place, it'll move that much faster, 2x, 3x. It'll just continue to speed up. in the U.S., you talked about innovation, right?
Mhm.
Like right now in the U.S., for example, if you want to buy life insurance, you can go online, you get a permanent policy online without any friction point. It's like applying for a credit card.
Oh,
Now that's more like mass market, right? That's not in the high net worth space, but even the high net worth space, we can go get medical records electronically. We can pull the medical records. We can pull your driver's license records.
mhm.
Underwriting now is being transformed with AI. So, whereas before you'd have an underwriter like review the case, didn't matter what level the case was at in terms of the size of the case, it was always like being reviewed by a person. And that's fine. People can move fast. However, if you have AI that's doing, summarization of the medical exam and the medical
Right.
records and then presenting that to the underwriter, instead of the underwriter having to look through a 50-page APS and
Mhm.
figure out and then send it over to a doctor for their review, back, forth, back, forth. There's all these things that happen behind the scenes. AI is going to revolutionize that. And so we'll get the information. Underwriter will still ultimately review and make the decision.
Mhm.
However, it's not the underwriter that's summarizing the information. It's AI that's summarizing the
So a lot of
information.
the legwork, the hard work, the collation of data that is being taken care of by AI, and the big decisions can be made by the underwriters.
Yeah, because we pride ourselves in having, the best, most seasoned underwriting team that has seen and experienced all types of, walks of life and
Mm.
issues and clean
Mhm.
and clean
Of course.
cases as well. We really value that. But if we can get rid of all the prep work on the front end and just get that situation, that summary right in front of an underwriter, and then they can make a decision and go, you can get back to your client faster and
Mhm.
you can get that policy put in place quicker.
So for example, the large case that you spoke about, how sooner do you think you could have done that? Because if let's say it took a few weeks, would you be able to eventually do that in a week, 10 days, 2 weeks? I don't know.
I think it will continue to evolve
Mhm.
and speed up. The larger case, the one that we talked about earlier, not everybody is moving as fast as we are moving, right? So because we have reinsurance partners,
Mhm.
so some of them are doing things like we're doing, but
Right.
on a case like that, right, we're working with 3 or 4 reinsurers, and so I'm a little dependent right now on what their process is, but every reinsurer is also moving in that direction. I can't say that every insurer is moving in that direction, but we are. We are investing heavily because we feel like that is the future and we should
Mhm.
be embracing it and learning about it. I'm sure, like you, like I've been learning about it. Sometimes I learn about it from my kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes I learn about it from things I read. Sometimes I learn about it from podcasts.
Yeah.
Right. So it's fascinating, and the uses are. I mean, these are still early days. It feels like
Correct.
the internet back in like the '90s, right?
Yeah.
Like we're still just sort of like trying to figure it out. But very quickly, it's going to become a part of not only a key part of the insurance world in the process, but also our daily lives. It
Yeah, I
feels
mean, I
like.
mean, when people talk about AI, they focus on the big names, the chip stocks. Those are
Yeah.
the. But I feel the less talked about are your legacy industries that are using AI to optimize. I think
Mm.
that's where the opportunities lie. That's where we'll see tremendous growth in streamlining of processes that is going to make our lives easier, and we're all looking forward to that. If we could go back to that large case again, what was the motivation for that client? What was the problem that he was trying to solve with a large policy?
So, family business
Mm-hmm.
uh, with business entities all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those entities sat in high tax jurisdictions, very complex family structure, family tree, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. And so this was put in place on the patriarch
Okay.
and this is just step one. So there'll be additional insurance that will be put on other members of the family, but they started at the top of the family tree
Mm-hmm.
in order to protect the business, ensure a smooth transition for the company, the family business, and also potentially to pay taxes that could be due
Right.
at the time of uh, the owner's, the founder's death.
So we speak about life insurance. We are primarily you're a life insurance company, but there are other products and solutions as well that can help these kind of family businesses, structure their long-term, wealth management needs as well. Is that something that you see more innovation products that you are looking at, solutions that could be used in the future?
Yeah, listen, these high net worth families, as we talked about, have very complex situations, and it's not a one size fits all, right?
Right.
Whether it's an index product or a whole life product or a term or whatever, it's not one size fits all. You should have, we should keep innovating.
Hmm.
Whether it's savings products, different types of index products, private placement products, BUL product. I mean, every client situation is going to be different. Our job as an insurance manufacturer is to bring forward, innovative products, solutions for you to bring as the advisor to your high net worth clients. And we need to keep expanding our platform. Right now, we have the most comprehensive platform in the high net worth space. We can issue solutions out of Bermuda, out of Singapore, out of Hong Kong, that are tailor made for the high net worth client. We had one product, 20 years ago. Today we have 17 products on our platform. In 5 more years, we should be doubling that. And again, because every client situation is different, you should be able to go to a menu and say, all right, what's right for this particular client? Okay, I'll take some of this and I'll take some of that. I don't need that. I don't need that. We're good. Next client comes along, I'll take some of that, but not this.
Hmm.
And it might be totally in reverse, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important. As we talked about before, clients are becoming more sophisticated. Their situations are more complex, and we need to have solutions that
Address some of those.
address them. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, we've got most of the heavy stuff out of the way. If let's go 25 years back. If you could speak to Mark Bensman
Long time ago.
before he started in the industry, what advice would you have for someone starting out in the life insurance business?
Well, I go back to my kids' reaction when they start asking me, like, what do I do for a living?
Hmm.
And I talk about, well, I'm in the life insurance business.
Hmm.
And immediately it's always like they're baiting me, because as soon as I start talking about what they're like, life insurance, ooh, oh my gosh, ooh. And I always make a joke where you're at a dinner party and someone turns to you and say, you've just met them for the first time and they say, hey, what do you do for a living? And I always cringe at that question,
Hmm.
because I know as soon as I say I'm in the insurance business, people go, oh, you're in the
Hmm.
insurance business.
Yeah.
We do something that's really important. All right. I've seen the other end of us having to pay the death claim,
Hmm.
and having these solutions in place, allow families to send their kids to college,
Hmm.
businesses to continue, legacies to be passed down from generations to generations. We've delivered checks of, well, we don't deliver check. We do wires now, but back then we delivered.
Yeah.
This is a very important business, as important, if not more important than money management, all the flashy, fun stuff that kids get excited about. The insurance business is a wonderful business, and I am proud now. Early Mark Bensman was the guy at the dinner party going like, "Oh, please don't ask me that question. Please don't ask me that question." Now I say, "I'm in the life insurance business,"
Mm.
and people go, "Oh," and I go, "Yeah, I work for a company that insures some of the wealthiest families globally." And then they go, "Oh, the wealthiest families globally?" Yes. Oh, where do those families live? Oh, they live in Dubai, they live in Saudi Arabia, they live in Hong Kong, they live in China. They now all of a sudden, oh, that's different, because
Mm.
their perception is very different than what
Correct.
the reality is. And we do something that's so important for
Absolutely.
we're actually, we talk about solving a lot of problems. You look at any statistic globally, it doesn't matter which country you're in, the entire population of, Dubai, the US, Canada, underinsured,
Correct.
underinsured.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we've seen, you've heard the horror stories, the breadwinner didn't put any type of insurance in place. And then all of a sudden, something sudden happens. And it's always that sudden thing that happens, that unexpected,
Yeah.
right? And now all of a sudden, okay, what do we do now? What do we do now? Well, if you have insurance, you don't need to worry about what do we do now. Well, what we do now is we file the claim, and we get the insurance proceeds, but I don't need to, rush to try and find a job or sell this.
Sell assets or,
So yeah,
or ask friends for money. I mean,
ask friends for money. It just solves a lot of problems.
yeah,
And so,
I consider that this is a risk management business. And managing risk is never the flashiest thing that people want to talk about. But risk management is extremely important, along with obviously the other flashy stuff like buying more sophisticated financial products out there. But I think risk management is equally, if not more important.
Absolutely, and be proud of what you're doing.
Absolutely. Or your work takes you on travels all over the world. Best place that you went to in the last 1 year, and any bucket list destination that you're looking forward to?
I'm very lucky. I get to go to some of the greatest cities in the world. So whether it's here in Dubai or Hong Kong or Singapore or cities in Europe or even in the US, I just enjoy the people I get to meet along the way. The different cultures, the different interactions, learning about worldly events from different perspectives. It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
We're in the people business at the end of the day, and I'm lucky enough to get some of the smartest, most sophisticated, down to earth, friendly people on the planet. And that's what I enjoy. I could be in a major city and be like, oh, this is great restaurants, great all that, but it's about the people.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you currently watching? Anything that you're watching with the family or by yourself?
Well, like a lot of the world population, I've been watching Stranger Things. I have an 11-year-old daughter who is very much a fanatic of Stranger Things. And so we've actually ripped through the entire series multiple times.
Oh, wow.
And so over the holidays was the series finale. That was a big event in our house.
Yeah.
And so now we're building Stranger Things Legos because we're sad that it's over, but we're just going to continue it on with Lego building, Stranger Things.
I'm expecting a theme park sometime in the future.
Yeah, why not?
I think it would be a great idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw a pop-up in Bangkok, which was the entire street was taken over
Is that right?
by Stranger Things, and they built everything from the house to the upside down. The entire street was a Stranger Things street.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Any book that you're reading currently that you would recommend to all our listeners and viewers?
I am actually bigger on podcasts. All right.
We're glad you're on one now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love hearing all different types of perspectives. I like to learn that way. That's interesting to me. And so, it's podcast world has completely evolved. It's amazing. Like I actually was very resistant to podcasts for a long time because it was like, oh, like our podcast for, people that can't be on the radio, that's how I thought about it. Right. And then, the evolution of, people and the amount of brain power that's contained within these podcasts are so easily available. You can listen to, and so when I'm on an airplane for 15 hours, I'll just download a bunch on a variety of different topics, whether it's sports, religion, politics, world events, entertainment, what have you. It's just great listening to people and listening to their perspectives. And I kind of get lost in that like you would a good book.
So next time we do a podcast with Mark Bensman, we're going to cover everything other than insurance then.
I look forward to it anytime.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Great. I hope we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.